Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1438 of our daily content grind, and today we have another debate on block. This was supposed to be like every 2 weeks I would do a new debate, and somehow I've let 2 months go by, so that's not right. So we will go ahead and, as we usually do here on the debate videos, let's see how you responded to the previous. And the previous one says, about the closest to an even split we have ever had. So 53% do transform their transformers with their instructions, and 46%, or roughly 47% more correctly, rounded up, you go without. And that's actually kind of surprising to me. See, I tend to feel like my age demographic, like the kind of people who watch this channel, are such veterans of Transformers that they would just kind of like throw those instructions out as soon as they open the box and just have at it with whatever they've got, just on the fly. I was kind of expecting that. I was kind of expecting that to be a lot more one-sided. No, that's about the most even I have ever split you. But I suppose, yeah, like, Transformers ain't cheap anymore. I wouldn't want to replace any of mine either, especially how annoying some of them are to find right now. So you know what? I completely understand if you don't want to go and risk a breakage or to do something in the wrong order or whatever. Because there is something to account for. Like, it's easy to get frustrated when you are messing with a toy and not resorting to the instructions. Or you could do what I've done sometimes, which is do entire reviews based on toys and completely miss features because you were transforming it the wrong way. I did that with a Cyber World Skybite. Like, I didn't look at the instructions because I thought it's a 4-step transformer. What do I need this for? Completely missing the part where he has a lot more automorph to him. Okay. That's on me. But for today, we're going to go with something that's a little bit more debatable because this is a very, very strong preferential thing. So today, as you can see in the title, I am going to be asking you, how do you prefer your Optimus Prime, with or without the faceplate? And I didn't mean for the slides to go that direction that quickly, but hey, it is what it is. So I will admit, I've got so many thoughts on this that I just kind of like stared at like an attempt at making notes and went, I'm just gonna go for it. So what you're seeing is just a random slideshow of different options and different variations that we have had. So yeah, you just see various Optimus Primes with and without the faceplate. And we will begin with the most obvious one. It's traditional. The original G1 Optimus Prime had a mouthplate. And that was just how the toy was done in Japan, so that's how the character was done in America. Now, it isn't like a matter of, well, this one seems more heroic, this one seems like he's going to be the top leader. It's more just the consequence of Diaclone Designs didn't really design them to be actual, like, talking independent robots. So some of them just didn't need a mouth. It's just as simple as the design process went. So the fact that Prime has a faceplate is just completely incidental. And in 1984, they hadn't come up with the idea of like a battle mask, which is what we typically get with Optimus Prime. We'll get into that here in a bit. You go for over a decade of Optimus Primes where you just have to have that mouth plate, and then you introduce us to Beast Wars, where Optimus Primal decided, no mouth plate. Mouth. I will use a mouth. And in Beast Wars, that makes sense because all the designs are so much more organic. Even in the robot modes, things are rounder, they're smoother, they're more flexible, more malleable. So I can understand the mouth actually making a lot more sense. I feel like if he just had a normal faceplate like G1 Optimus Prime, bobbing up and down every time he talked, I definitely think you would have lost something with the character. Now in season 1, he did have the battle mask, which is this is kind of where that was invented, so it matched the OG toy. Because remember, the original Beast Wars Optimus Prime did have the mouth plate, because it was originally designed to be just a new Optimus Prime. So Beast Wars came up with the solution to this, so they could have a mouth and still be toy accurate when they needed to. I really don't think they used the mouth plate often enough, frankly, for it to really be justified. But it did get an entire generation of Transformers fans used to seeing Optimus Prime with a mouth, to the point where by the time we got to this show, RID 2001, where Prime was restored to his semi-original design anyway, it did feel a little bit weird, and Armada continued that trend. And Armada also kind of raises a really good point for why some of these shows did use the faceplate. It's a lot easier to dub a character when you do not have to show them talking. As something of a continuation of the history portion of this, you gotta remember, it's not just the English dub, but the Japanese dub didn't have to do it either. And in the animes, Armada and Energon, they did not animate Optimus Prime's mouth plate moving up and down. That is something that G1 did to indicate when Prime was talking, and they did that to all of the characters who had mouth plate designs. No one else figured that out. Everyone else just wanted to take the Beast Wars route of, it's a battle mask, it comes on for fights, and otherwise his mouth is showing. And there is something to be said for emoting. Okay, there is something to be said about that. There's some shots that you can see in the slideshow where you can absolutely tell where if he had a normal faceplate, it really would have taken a lot of the emotion or humor out of the scene. So I understand that. Now, in a series like, I don't know, Transformers Prime, I really didn't think there was a necessity for such a mouth plate, for it to have him with an exposed mouth, because the character very rarely emoted. As far as Optimus Primes go, he is probably the most consistent emotioned Optimus there is. He is not entirely a flat note, but he definitely does not emote the way other Optimus Primes do. He is much more strict. He is more sullen. There, I think you could have absolutely gotten away with a faceplate, and I think it would have added to his look of authority. So sometimes it really is just about how you use it, right? So in some cases, yes, the mouth works better because we need him to actually show more range of emotion. But in some cases like that, the faceplate would have also worked better. Movie Optimus Prime, I think, is another example of where you don't really need that mouth. Again, it's not an Optimus Prime that emotes very often. He doesn't show much humor. He doesn't show much, weirdly enough for an Optimus Prime, not a lot of kindness, you know? Like, he can say words that sound heroic, but it's not like, I'm not expecting, I don't remember a line from movie Optimus Prime that he would say with a smile. Let's put it that way. I feel like the faceplate adds a level of authority where you can say that, well, I need these characters to emote, and if you're going to make a more emotional Optimus Prime, I will agree with you. But if you're going to make a strict, strong leader type out of Optimus, the faceplate is going to add to that because you are intentionally hiding the emotion. You know, you can't see if he's smiling or frowning over things. You know, he does present a much more stern and serious image when you cannot see his mouth. So that's also something that comes into play a lot. Another factor to it is just you need to be able to tell when he's talking. Like, I mean, aside from the fact, like, the faceplate is done very badly in a lot of things. In the Unicron trilogy as well, because frankly, you can't tell, right? Like, if you're not familiar with what voice is whose, like a conversation between two characters with mouth plates in Armada, like if Optimus was talking to Sideways, You know, it's I can't even think of it like a specific example of that when that happened in the show. I'm sure it did, but it's an example of like these two characters can't talk in the same room because you can't tell which one of them is speaking unless you're familiar with their voices. If you just clicked over on your TV and it just popped up and here's the characters, how would you know? How would you know? For the uninitiated, how would you know? So the weird thing is, despite them actually animating the faceplate in 1984, it took forever for anyone to actually apply that correctly. The Armada video game had the faceplate, and it actually did show him talking by moving the faceplate. The new cartoon, for as much flack as I can give Cyberworld for being this very budgeted series that's only like 5-minute mini episodes on YouTube, and even those episodes take a week to come out, even then, I can still look at that and go, Optimus Prime's mouthplate is actually moving up and down. And for the character that they are portraying him as, I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think I'm missing any characterization because they're actually just portraying the character a proper way for the mouthplate. So, yeah, sometimes it's very much, how it is used. You can do both in a good and a bad way. Now, there is the option I keep skirting past, because if you are a Bayverse fan, if you're a modern Transformers fan, if you got into this from the movies, your Prime is going to be largely without a mouthplate, whether that was movie, Prime, animated, even into Cyberverse in 2010, or those shows, none of those Primes prominently featured their battle masks. Even Earthspark did not. Again, it was left to combat only. And there's very few Primes where the mouth is just always a thing, because they still do want to show a traditional looking Optimus Prime. The mouth plate is still an option, but as we said, Beast Wars barely used it. Animated used it sometimes. Prime used it decently. Movies use it. So you can find examples. I want to say the only times I've ever seen the mouth without any kind of faceplate, without any kind of like compromise, would be like the Transmetal Optimus Primals, because, and again, we've talked about that. They're more organic designs. I feel like it works. I feel like you can get away with it there. But the only other time is Beast Machines. Of the one time I might want that face covered up, that's the one time they don't. That is the one time they don't. But I can remember this being such an enormous deal. This was such a huge sticking point for so many people in the 2000s of like, well, my Optimus Prime always had a faceplate. And then but you had Beast Wars fans who were getting into the Armada trilogy going like, no, Prime shouldn't have a faceplate. He should have a mouth. So you had situations like Energon Optimus Prime, where originally Energon Prime was going to have an opened faceplate and an exposed mouth, and then that did not happen. The original toy, I think for like the first wave of that Optimus Prime, you could have it with the open mouth. And then every wave after that, it was the battle mask, which ended up being the look he had in the cartoon. So somewhere around there's like a weird last minute change. But I can remember such an outrage over doing that Energon Optimus with no like full faceplate. Cartoon accuracy or just G1ers whining. You take your pick, because it was probably both, frankly. But you had things like Cybertron, which kind of split the difference. You have that mask up or down, however you want it to look. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want the mouth plate, why you would not want the mouth plate. I think it basically boils down to how the show uses it and is it appropriate for the characterization that they are going with. As we said, more jovial, more emotive primes, yes, I can see the mouth working better. More serious, stern, more commanding or traditional primes, absolutely you throw in the faceplate. That's not to say either is required. We have had Optimus Primes with just the exposed mouth who were dead serious. You know, there's your 2010 or not 2015 Optimus Prime or you know, Prime. You know, and then we've had, you know, even G1. Something that I need to do a video of at some point is G1 Optimus Prime is actually way more expressive and emotional than you think he is. Like the tough, stern Optimus Prime that is kind of like his default personality. Really go back and watch the OG cartoon because it really isn't. You know, I can't imagine Bay versus Optimus Prime learning to play basketball because he's trying to understand Earth more. But these are just random scattered thoughts. What's important here is your call, because that's the whole point of this particular series. So as usual for the debate videos, if you go into the description below, you will see a link to a straw poll site. Please click on that link and leave your vote. And for the first time, because there is a different situation here, I am going to leave you 3 options. Your options are always faceplate, always mouth, and battle mask. So there's all 3 of your scenarios, because every time there's a third scenario, I get some kind of havoc in the comments over it. Okay, so I won't make you do like a this or that this time. This time it is 1 of 3, and I am looking forward to seeing your responses. So that's going to be it for me today. Please leave your comments below. Let me know how the debate is going. Feel free to debate it in the comments as long as you keep it civil. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.